Welcome back to the Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. In the studio with me, Deputy Kevin Duxbury from the Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station Crime Prevention Unit. Just talking about service dogs and kind of explaining the difference between a service dog and a therapy dog. And I think what I'm gathering from your research and kind of what the ADA is saying is that the service dog is kind of a very defined working class of animal that has a very specific purpose and a specialized training, whereas a therapy dog is kind of a broader umbrella category that doesn't quite have the same legal protections.
Yeah, exactly. The working dogs, as I said before, are not considered pets. They are considered service dogs, workers. They're specifically trained to do a specific task, whereas the therapy and comfort dogs don't really require any training. In most cases, you just need a doctor's note to say that you need this animal, and then you can file to register it as a therapy or a comfort dog. And with that, there's a lot of different rules that these dogs fall under. For example, a service dog, like we said before, can go anywhere that the owner needs to go,
Right.
With the exception of sterile environments. Therapy dogs are actually limited to the same places that regular pets would be limited to.
Okay.
A therapy or a comfort dog is actually not allowed in any business that serves food or sells food, for that matter. So your grocery stores, your coffee shops, these types of things, they're actually not allowed in those businesses.
And it's an interesting distinction to make, because I know a lot of people, like, you don't necessarily want to tell somebody if you own a business, like, hey, you can't bring your dog in here if you're not sure if it's a service dog or not. But there are certain, just kind of restrictions you can put on that just out of respect for your other customers and that type of situation.
Exactly.
Like.
When it comes to identifying service dogs versus therapy and comfort dogs, staff are authorized to ask two questions and two questions only. They can ask, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? And they can ask, what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? That's about all they can ask. Law enforcement, however, and I've come across this, we are authorized to ask for the animal's identification, to check the tag, to determine if it is a approved service dog or just a therapy dog.
And so if a dog or if a business owner does have a question, then, as in most cases, they should about the law, they should probably contact the sheriff station, and just a deputy can kind of clear that up.
With these two questions alone, a business owner who is educated on the difference, as soon as they ask them, is this a service animal because of a disability, and what task does this dog perform? That should be enough for them to know if that dog can legally come into their business or if they can legally decline.
So those two questions, I mean, if the dog does have a valid training and it does serve a specific purpose, that's essentially yours.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Now,
I can see that getting into gray areas, though, if somebody says, like, no, the dog provides me emotional support and it's trained to do that,
Yeah.
but then they have to have some sort of proof.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Now, with any business where you can take a pet, and you want to bring your service or therapy dog, again, it is up to the discretion of the business. Airlines is a good example.
Okay, yeah.
Service dogs, can fly for free. They cannot be charged to fly those dogs.
Again, service dogs, these are the
Service
dogs that are
dogs.
helping, like, a seeing eye person.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
There we
So
go.
service dogs specifically,
Struggle
they
there.
fly for free. They don't have to be checked with the baggage. Like you
A
would
seeing eye
somebody
person pair.
Well, I was struggling, Justin, and I was hoping. I knew you caught that. I
Seeing
saw the
eye
glimmer in
person.
your eye when I said that. I was like, shoot. Justin's pouncing on that. Sorry,
That's
Deputy.
all right.
For that rude interruption, Deputy Duxbury. Give a guy a mic.
What are you going to do? So, but I'm glad someone's listening.
Yeah, yes. You're the one.
But anyway, actual service dogs, they fly for free. They don't have to ride in the cargo compartment of the airplane. With the therapy and comfort dogs, it is at the discretion of the airline.
Okay.
If they decide that they want to charge you for the pet and put it with the cargo, that's something you actually would be required to do. The one thing that people have to understand is with service dogs and therapy comfort dogs, same rules apply to these two, is that the owner is responsible for these dogs and their behavior. If the dog is creating a disturbance, you can even ask a service dog to leave.
Important distinction,
If
yeah.
they cause
okay.
any damages to a facility, you're
Person's
liable
liable.
for that. And things like allergies or fear of dogs is not a reason to excuse a service dog. If someone says they have allergies or they're just afraid of dogs in general, that's not a reason for a business to be able to keep those animals out.
Right on. Well, that's good information. Thank you, Deputy. And if people want to get more information, they can go to ada.gov and
Yes.
look up, it looks like service animals, and then you can find a lot of that
Yep,
information.
you'll
on
find
your
all
own.
that information. Great information there.
And so, yeah, if you're a business owner, you can post that on your on your business location, or just get that out to the public. And another thing I want to touch on real quick, and we'll talk a little bit more about this next segment, is because the sheriff's station deputies have put out a nixle about motorcycle awareness.
Yes.
In conjunction with the California Highway Patrol, it is Motorcycle Safety Awareness Week. It's so important, obviously, to be safe if you're riding a motorcycle. Justin, you ride a motorcycle?
Of course I do, Perry.
You do?
I have it outside right now.
Never know with this guy if it's a straight answer.
I
always joking around.
I detect falseness in that
Yeah,
statement.
but Deputy Duxbury, you have a motorcycle.
I am an avid motorcyclist. I've been riding since I was about 8 years old. So
We'll talk a little bit more about motorcycle safety when we come right back. We got to take a quick commercial break on your Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back, Santa Clarita Valley, here on your Neighborhood Watch, brought to you by All American Bail Bonds on your hometown station. Deputy Kevin Duxbury and myself talking about Santa Clarita Valley Sheriff Station, outreach, crime prevention, and what's going on in our community. And you were just talking about, we were just announcing Motorcycle Safety Awareness Week is going on May 3rd to May 9th. And starting today, there's going to be a little extra patrol going on as just an effort to increase the awareness for people about the importance of safety when you're riding around on two wheels.
Right.
Talk to me a little bit about that. Deputy Duxbury, we were just saying you're a motorcycle rider yourself.
yeah, I've got a pretty long history with motorcycles. My dad used to race desert back in the 60s.
About in the desert, out in...
Like Cal City and Mojave and things like that.
Sure.
You know, and so I was kind of born into it. There was always a motorcycle in the garage. I got my first mini bike when I was about 9 years old. Now, my dad used to ride street bikes. He had a couple close calls and just decided he was going to ride off street bikes forever, but he still did the off-roading. And he had told me that as long as you live in my house, you will never own a street-legal dirt motorcycle, and you will never have any tattoos.
A street legal... Why did he not want you to own a
Because
street
he didn't
legal?
want me riding on the street. So as soon as I moved
gotcha,
out,
gotcha.
I've bought a bunch of motorcycles, and I got sleeved out with tattoos. And,
There you go.
There you go. But
When joined the Army, didn't you? No.
oh yeah. But no, you know, my dad taught me right, you know, about motorcycle safety, about never riding without a helmet, about riding responsibly, never riding above your limits, because you know.
What does that mean?
Well, every rider knows his limits as to how
fast
good
he can handle
or
the
bad
bike,
he
or-
is. You know, how well do you know your machine? How well do you know the terrain you're riding on? You know, what are your limits? Where are you? Where are you when you're maxed out at pushing a bike? Because you push that edge this much, and you're going down, and it's going to be ugly.
Right.
So.
And that's the thing, is just it's so important to be safe, because there are so many uncontrollable factors. Like when you're on a bike and you're surrounded by cars, it's like sometimes it's hard to see the bike coming up on the lane.
I've one thing I learned about riding is that when you're on the street and you're looking at these other cars, you have to think about what is the stupidest thing that car right now could do, and you mentally prepare yourself for it. And that has saved me a couple of times. I've been very fortunate. I only went down on the street once, and that was actually when I was in Germany, and a little kid had run out between two parked cars, and I locked up the front brake and dumped it. Mm-hmm. But I walked away from it, so did he. Bent up my bike a little bit, but happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, considering. And some of the statistics, I mean, what could have happened? 37% drop in fatalities from 2008 to 2010, and then we see an increase by 23% a couple of years ago. So it's always important to keep reminding people just how important it is to be safe.
Right.
Keep an eye out. Any tips you can offer as far as, obviously like what you were saying, knowing wearing a helmet and knowing your limits. But anything else as far as like, technically in California, I believe it is legal to lane split, right? As long as you're doing it.
It's an odd thing, because there's not a law that says you can, and there's not a law that says you can't. And unless you're a motorcycle patrolman, you can't catch a guy lane splitting. They do it to me all the time. They go right by my radio car, and there's nothing I can do about it because I can't get out of that traffic.
Because you can't weave in and out of that lane, right?
And I have personally been on several motorcycle accidents where people just got too close to a mirror. You clip one, and you basically pinball down a row of cars until you finally go down. And so it's it's dangerous,
right?
And I definitely don't recommend it. I don't do it. I'll wait in traffic with everybody else. And
from that nixle that was put out in conjunction with the city and the California Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Station, safety tips for riders, see and be seen is what it says.
Yeah.
Ride with lights on during daylight hours. Use your lane position to increase visibility and change lanes only when there's ample room. match your speed to surrounding traffic. Obviously, you don't want to be lane splitting at 70 if
Right.
traffic stopped at 20. And always wear a Department of Transportation compliant helmet and brightly colored protective clothing.
And a huge thing, though, really, with motorcycles, it is training. There's a lot of unlicensed motorcycle riders out there. I was just talking to a CHP officer about that last night, and there's no way to monitor how many there are out there. But when you take the motorcycle test, you actually have to do an obstacle course at the
really?
DMV. You have to answer a question specific to motorcycles about how to properly brake, how would you properly turn, what would you do in this scenario, that scenario. And there's a lot of courses offered out there for motorcycle training for new riders. Education is imperative. It's huge. One of the biggest things you can do to make yourself a safer rider and keep the rubber down is to take those training courses and learn to ride properly.
And on top of that, the Sheriff's Department and Sheriff's Station out here has an off-road team, and there's a SRT, I believe it's called. I'm not sure on the letters on that. But
Yeah.
there's a team specifically dedicated to off-road enforcement
Yes.
and kind of policing that kind of behavior, too.
I'm actually pretty excited about it. I'm going to be going to that training in June.
Right
so,
on.
I got to pass that training, and then hopefully I'll be putting on the dirt bike helmet. And
Have they talked to you a little bit about like what you have to do?
out here, they mostly patrol the off-road recreation areas to make sure that people are riding within compliance and safely, proper equipment. And then they also check the non-legal trails that people ride on to issue citations.
And it's like a 40-hour course that you guys have to it's basically like certifying that you can.
It's actually
do what you need to do?
an 80-hour course,
80-hour
and
course? Okay.
it's a lot of training to ride at very low speeds, and then there's some off-road riding just to make sure you are capable of riding off-road and that type of thing.
And I would imagine there's an obstacle element to that too, just like there is with
Oh, yeah.
if you have to get a regular motorcycle
Oh, yeah.
license. And then two more things. I just want to mention some safety tips for drivers who have to share the roads with motorcyclists. Always look twice, especially when you're entering the roadway, turning, or changing lanes. And motorcyclists are allowed in HOV or carpool lanes unless prohibited by signage. So something to remember, they might be trying to get over, so they can do that legally. And if you want any more information, there is the California Motorcyclist Safety Program, so you can call 1-877-RIDE-411. That's 877-RIDE-411 if you want to look up some more information on your own. We got to take a commercial quick.
Quick commercial break.
Darn it,
Commercial
Justin.
quick. Commercial quick.
Darn it, Justin. Okay, we'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back on your hometown station.